Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge. Today we're taking a look at the Bastion Talon. The Bastion Talon is a G10 handle scale. We've got D2 blade steel. It's got, it's not really a Talon style blade. It's an extended Wharncliffe really, because it's a straight blade, no recurve. I thought Talons were had a recurve blade. Anyhow, this is a budget knife. The price of this thing, it's just under $50 at White Mountain Knives. Take off your 10% with coupon code CCE, and it makes it just under $45. Well, $44.99. Is it worth that much? Well, that's one of the things we're going to look at. It's got a flipper, it's got thumb studs, it's got a one-side handle scale, it's a liner lock knife. It's not super big, but it's not a tiny, small knife either. It's actually pretty good size. I've done a lot of testing on it, used it for a bunch of stuff. Now it's time to take a good look at the review. We're going to go to the tabletop. We're going to let YouTube play one commercial break in this video, and then we'll get into it with no more breaks at all. Keep watching. The review's coming right now. You may have seen on the close-up in the introduction that the blade was a bit dirty. I actually got some crazy glue on this blade. And Goo Gone is a product we have here, at least in North America. It works quite well. It removes all kinds of stuff. And it worked quite well to clean the blade along with a rag. So there you go. Oh, looks like I forgot a spot right there. You can see behind the thumb stud right there. It's a little bit of crazy glue. I'll clean that off later on. Let's get into doing this review now. Let's start off with a size comparison. Here's the Ontario Rat 1. And it's not all that different in size. It's a little bit smaller. Just a very little bit. It's a good size knife. It's not a great knife. I'm going to start off right at the beginning because I know most people don't watch the full length of these videos. I don't think this knife is worth $50 US. There's a lot of other knives that cost less and are better than this one. But I'm going to give you the full review regardless. The blade shape, we've got a straight back on the spine here, some jimping right there, which is quite nice. And then it bumps up kind of like a harpoon blade. And then we've got the Wharncliffe style, I'm calling this a stretched Wharncliffe. And a swedge here, so that helps if you're going to be piercing into something. Having a thinner edge here helps it to go in. And then we've got a sort of saber grind. It's a flat grind that doesn't come up to the spine. And then the cutting edge means it's got a fairly strong tip. It's fairly well built, so it is okay for piercing. It just doesn't have that recurve that most Talon kind of knives have, although they're calling this a Talon. Sharpener's choil, it's a little bit far back. It's not a great sharpener's choil, but it's okay. You can sharpen right to the end here without getting into the plunge. It's a nice quick plunge. I like that. We've got thumb studs for the deployment. Those thumb studs look pretty good. It's easy to get your thumb behind them on either side, left or right-handed. And it works just fine to open the knife with the left hand or with the right hand. It's pretty good. The detent on here is actually a little bit too strong. It's a little bit too stiff. But it works just fine. And with the flipper is smooth all over. There's no jimping anywhere on it. And light switch method where you're pulling straight back works great. And if you're putting some pressure on an angle, that works as well to deploy the blade. So it's okay. The detent, I don't know. I have to take it apart. I haven't taken it apart yet to know exactly why it's too strong, but it holds on quite tight, and then it suddenly lets go. It's got a liner lock. The lockup is actually very good. It's not so late that it's a problem. It's not so early that it's a problem. It's actually done almost exactly the way I like it. We've got a little bit of access from your thumb in here to get at that lock bar release. There's a very slight chamfer on there, but I think the spring tension on this lock arm is very hard, and this edge here is not quite as soft as it could be. It does, put little lines in my thumb whenever I disengage this blade. You have to push hard, and it's a fairly square edge, not perfectly square, but it's not that well done right in that section. The pivot pin, it's smooth on this side, and we've got a T8 hole on that side. I hope that means it's a D-shaped pin. I'll take the knife apart later on. Other than that, we've basically got flat slab G10 with chamfered edges on the spine and on the belly, and then a G10 backspacer that is exposed back here for the lanyard hole. So I really like that lanyard system, so the paracord can come straight out the back and it doesn't bulge out. That's nice. A little bit of jimping up here on that. We've got recessed button screws, and well, it looks like I scratched the G10 a little bit right there. So it wasn't like that from the factory, that little lighter mark right there. That's during my testing somehow. I must have rubbed something across there. I don't like recessed button screws, but they're not terrible. Pocket clip. It's right side only, and it's a tip down pocket clip. Not a deep carry clip, but it's not a bad pocket clip. Let's see how it performs. The edge here, it's pointed up and open, so that edge, it didn't get hot in the hand, but it's good that it climbs over, goes to the full depth, and there you go. You've got, I didn't measure this before, let's see, just a tiny bit over 1/2 inch sticking out of the pocket. And since it's, this is the OD green color, this black is a little bit grabby for the eye, meaning it stands out a little bit, but so does silver ones. So there you go. By the way, you can get the knife in other colors. I think there's just green and black, but you can also get the blade in this satin or a black coated blade as well. So the pocket clip is okay. I do wish they would have put in a left side pocket clip. If they're taking the time to do left side for the thumb studs, flippers, ambidextrous, why not be like cold steel and add a left side pocket clip? It's just a flush surface for the clip. It's not recessed on the side. It's just screwed on from the top. So just 2 little holes in there would not make it look bad. So I wish they would have done that as well. The liners have this black coating on them. None of it has chipped off in my testing, but it's not like I try to, impact that with anything hard either. So there's that. How does it feel in hand? We've got just a slight crown here. It's not really rounded, but it feels okay in the hand. I like how it gets thinner here. That little bit of jimping does help with the grip. So comfortable, fist grip, saber grip is fairly comfortable. The jimping, I wish it came back a little bit further. That would be more comfortable. Right now, it just is, the jimping just impacts the tip of my thumb. I wish it would come back, and then the entire thumb would rest on jimping. That would be a little more helpful. A reverse grip, it's okay. It's not great. You don't get a lot of security with your thumb here, since it's just this narrow ledge from the backspacer, but it's okay. It's a reasonably comfortable knife. Nothing special, nothing very comfortable. It's just okay. Let's take some time before we do anything else to go over all the measurements and such. The weight of this knife, 136 grams, 4.85 ounces. The sharpness from the factory, 285 bests. That's quite a bit worse than average. So it wasn't all that well sharpened. The cutting edge length, 84.3 millimeters, 3.32 inches. Blade length, tip to the closest spot on the G10, 88.6 millimeters, 3.49. So they're calling this a 3.5 inch blade. The blade thickness, it's 3.3 millimeters, 0.13 of an inch. The blade depth, that's this measurement within the grip. The widest point, 26.3 millimeters, 1.04 inches. How thick is it behind the grind? 0.66 millimeters, which is 26 thousandths of an inch, which is quite a bit thicker than it needs to be. The grind angles, they average out 22.2 degrees, 27.3 degrees. This side's okay, 22.2 to 21.6. But this side, it starts off at 23.2, and then it goes to 25.5, and then it goes to 29.1. It ends at the tip at 31.5 degrees. Yeah, so it wasn't sharpened very well from the factory. I've not tested it with my own sharpening. I got the results from that other video where I asked you guys if I should. There were very few respondents, and the responses were mixed. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with, if I'm going to sharpen knives myself and test them. But there was a misunderstanding. If I change that, it's something I'm going to add. I will still do the testing of the factory edge the way it is. I will add testing after I've sharpened it to the, proper edge angle. So no worries there, guys. I'm not going to just sharpen my knives and test them that way. It would just be an added bit of information. More work for me, and probably slightly longer videos. To the handle. The handle length, 115.9 millimeters, 4.56 inches. The grip area, it's just under 10 centimeters or 4 inches. The handle thickness, not counting the pocket clip, right on the G10 surface, 13.8 millimeters, 0.543 of an inch. The handle depth within the grip area, where's the widest point? Right there, 24.4 millimeters, 0.96 of an inch. When the knife is closed to go into your pocket, where's the widest point? And it actually is right up here, 38.1 millimeters, 1.5 inches. The total length of this knife from tip to the very end, 204.5 millimeters, 8.05 inches. Before I get into my thoughts on this thing, I'm going to take it apart and show you the insides. What kind of bearing surfaces there are, all that stuff. Keep watching. First thing, the pivot pin, it is free spinning, but there was zero problem getting it out. My very first try was no problem. There's no Loctite on the screw at all, and that's probably why it came out easily. There's no Loctite on the body screws either. I would have liked a D-shaped pivot pin, so that's another knock against it. The bearings we've got here, we've got a black plastic material, maybe nylon, with small steel ball bearings in there. So that's not bad. The stop pin is one of those floating ones. Not bad for that either. It's okay. There's no skeletonizing on the liners. I wish there was. I'll show you the balance point when I put it back together. It's a little bit dirty in there. You can see some heat marks here where they ground the end of the blade for, the lockup. That's not a great sign. It's not terrible. It's not going to hurt the edge at all. But it shows that they're not very high quality control. They just get the job done. Yeah. So I'm going to clean this up, get rid of that gunk in there if I can, put it back together, and I'm going to try to, there you go. If you can see this here, see how far over this is? It's further over than the thickness of the handle would be. Put the stop pin together. There you go. And put that back together at the back. Get that to fit together. There we go. It's pretty much, yeah, it is. The detent ball is touching this other side. It's all the way over. And then some a little bit. If I let go, it pushes the knife apart because that spring is pushing that far over. That's usually too strong of a spring tension. And that's why it was so hard to push it over, because it's got a lot of tension going that way. So there's that. I'm not much I can do about it. Well, I can take it all the way apart and soften it up a little bit. Maybe I'll try that. Yeah, I'll try that. I just have to take the pocket clip off so that I can get at just the liner. I took that off. Now the way to do this is hold it firmly back here and then just push it back a little bit past center, because I can push it up to there when the knife is closed or all together. So I want to push it a little bit past that just to get some of the springiness out of it. There you go, just a tiny bit. Don't change it a lot. Just a small adjustment. Big adjustments are bad, especially with knives. Don't do that. And now I'll put it back together and see how well it works. So I put it back together. By the way, I learned that these screws are very low tolerance and they're very shallow. So now you can see silver marks where the paint was scraped away, and the screws, the drivers slipped out really easily because they're not very deep and the tolerances aren't very close. There's a lot of play inside those screws. So yeah, don't like the screws. The quality of the screws, not very good. It was not hard. The pivot screw, I'm surprised how well it worked while it being free spinning. It was easy to tighten up. It just worked okay. Oftentimes free spinning gives problems, but this one was just fine. With that slight adjustment to the tension on that lock arm, we've still got good detent holding it. It's a little bit softer than it was, but not much. And action's great. And it doesn't hurt as much to push across to disengage the lock anymore. So that's been optimized and works better than it did before. It's okay. There's no blade play side to side. Oh, by the way, the balance point is right there. So if there was some skeletonizing, they could have brought the balance point over here while making it a bit lighter. Is this a good self-defense knife? Not really. If you're just going to use it for puncturing, it'll do okay. It'll go up to the thumb studs. After that, you're going to have, whatever you're puncturing is going to get caught on that, unless it's really soft. There's no recurve here, which is really good for, cutting into things. That's why karambits, have the big recurve blade. Yeah, a little thick behind the grind. The grind angle's not done that well. The ball bearings aren't great, but the pivot system functions okay. How does it look? I don't mind the looks of it. It looks okay. It looks like a decent knife. How did it work in the field using it? It's okay. I do wish there was more jimping there, but that was okay. It's not hot in the hand, but it's not extra comfortable either. A lot of knives are more comfortable than this. The pocket clip, it doesn't become bothersome either. I just wish there was also a left one. It's a reasonable knife. I just don't think it's worth, even after the 10% discount at White Mountain Knives, I don't think it's worth 45 American dollars. Your choice what you want to spend your money on. If you really, really like this blade shape, then there you go. If you like this video, please give it a like, share it with somebody. Thanks for subscribing and all that other good stuff you guys do for Canadian Cutting Edge. And remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye for now.